Rama.
You have called and speaking to someone else. You can wait or call again later. You call it for now.
Good afternoon, everybody. Before going to discuss today's scheduled topic, I would like to brief out what we have discussed in the last session. In the last session, we have explained the basic conceptual framework of the management control system, in which we have discussed the meaning of management control system, process of management control, the different features of management control systems, the purpose of management control system, the functions of management control system, that is the management and different levels, control mechanism, and the system framework in order to attain the objective of the management control system. Besides that, we also discussed about the boundaries and the organization of the management control system and the paradigms of control. So while discussing about the planning before we are going to control the various activities, planning is a pre-activity. And this planning may be different levels of planning, that is the strategic planning, tactical planning, and operational planning. So for planning of the future activities, we need a lot of information. Having collected the information from different dimensions, we are going to plan the future activities. After that, different types of the management controls, maybe formal control or informal control, and the system with which we should control the various planned activities in order the things but we may have formal as well as informal control also. After identifying the different variables only, I think we can easy to control the various planned activities. At the end, we discussed about the impact in the present days business organizations in the name of internet. So by having this internet facility, it is very easy for us to achieve our set objectives.
Hyderabad. సార్ అదే సార్ స్టూడెంట్స్ అది యూట్యూబ్ లో కూడా తింటారు సార్ అదే రికార్డ్ అయితే సో తప్పైన
So having completed the discussion on the basic framework of the management control system, in this session, we would like to discuss the designing of the management controls. How do we design a management control system in a business organization? So the following are the things which I am going to discuss in the name of designing of management control system. So this designing of management control system, we should always keeping in mind the various stakeholders of the business. For them only we have to serve with our management control system to attain the goals. And we must also establish a linkage between goal congruence with the departments and its subunits. And this management control system is mainly in a, but we have different types of the organization, maybe formal organization and informal organization. So with our control system, in case of a formal control system, which will help us in order to control the various planned activities of a business organization. So for the success of this management control system, we need an effective structure of the organization. And this structure of the organizations are of different types. Maybe they are entrepreneurial structure of the organization, functional type of the organizations, unitary type of the organization, and a matrix type. There are all the different types of the organizations. And it all depends on the nature of the organization. I think we have to follow one of these structures: entrepreneurial, functional, unitary, and matrix type. And here, in order to control the various activities, there is a controller who will control the various functions of the business. And this controller, he is going to control the activities by delegating the powers to the different heads of the organization. So for which we can follow a decentralized or centralized type. Decentralized type organization that is the management philosophy, wherein we are giving the liberty to the various heads of the subunits who will control the various activities. And so in this case or in this process, how do we design a control system in a business organization is the main subject of the discussion or the topic of the discussion today. So here there are different steps to design the management control system, which should be explained as follows. But the ultimate idea of the control system would be to enable or to perform the various activities of the organization. So for which the first step in the process of designing the control system is we have to hear the needs of the clients first of all. The active listening and effective questioning, conceptualization of the system, clarity of the various steps by consulting the various stakeholders is very, very important in the first stage. So we must know what are the needs of the clients. You must very clearly listen them. Then you have to design and how do we satisfy the needs of our clients? What type of the control system should be designed? Should make a clarity in our mind first of all as a step. The next step is, and you have to link the various activities of the control mechanism for the smooth attaining of the setted plans in a holistic approach. Hence, you must have an approach which should be a holistic framework or a sectional framework or maybe a zero-based approach which suits the needs of the present situation. So for which you must have the various related people, you have to consult or you must take the opinion or the advices of the experts based on the experiences in order to design this control system. And here you must be having an idea what are the various problems, what are the various expectations of the clients and what are the needs of the clients. So having known all these things, now you have to design your system. That is the second step. In the third step, you must have the clarity of the objectives of your exercise. There should not be any commitment on the means to achieve the objectives. So you must understand the formula as well as the implied strategy of the organization, which is often hidden from the consciousness of its members. You must have the consciousness of and the clarity of the hidden agenda of your clients. And you must also have a note of it as one of the steps before you are going to design the control mechanism. And the next one is you must have a conversational style. Just you must allow your clients in the process of designing this control mechanism by way of taking their opinions also. And here you must allow them to express their own views and their thinking, which will help us to make our control system design very effective. So having allowed them to give their opinion, now you have to make a chart of a flow of the information and how the information is going to be received and how the received information is going to be analyzed before you are going to make your own framework of the system. And in this particular process, you must also identify the various indicators for your comparison and also to take their advice in different steps, and also to identify the various variables in order to measure the effectiveness of our control system by way of taking the inputs as well as outputs of the system with which we are going to work out in the name of management control system. And in this process, the much more important thing is how do we measure the effectiveness of the control system? That is also very, very important. So while you are measuring, and this measurement may be a qualitative and a quantitative. If it is a very quantitative measurement, that means what is your budgeted things. The plans are going to be counted in terms of numerical figures. That is what we use called as budget. So having planned the future in terms of the budgets, and you must try to attain those budgets for which you have to compare what is your actual and what is your budget figure. So likewise, you can have your own assessment. What is to be achieved and what was achieved so far. And this you can put it in the form of a report. And this reporting is also to the higher levels, helps you in order to give their own advices or the directions and how you have to move for further. So this is how your framework is going to be much more helpful for the smooth conducting of your business activities in the name of the management control system. And for all these things, I think the linkage is very, very important at a different functionaries of the organization. Unless you establish a linkage, I think it is very difficult for us because it should be a two-way process. You have to give the direction from the higher level to the lower, as well as you have to allow the lower, your subordinates to give their feedback for making your reports and also to take the consciousness of the various of the individuals with whom you are going to make your function in the organization. So for which I think you may have different factors which are going to influence your performance. Maybe the informal factors or the external factors are, and these informal and external factors are going to be considered for giving their importance in order to take their cognizance into your actions for further improvement of your control system. So for which I think you need a culture of the organization, that is what is known as you must have some sort of a working environment in which and you are going to allow the subordinates to give their feedback, and that should also be taken into account while you are setting your goals. And here not only the department, but you may also have different sub-departments. And whenever you are having the departments and sub-departments, I think this is how we are going to have your own style of management. And this style may be an external control style or in internal control style, or you may have a reward system type of the control, and you have to integrate and integration and communication and process or external control process. So for which I think you may have a reward subordinates to make your the plans achievable as per your schedule. So here I think you may have a good communication system, you may have a clarity in your roles of the organization, and you must have the adequate infrastructure to achieve your target. So with all these things, I think you are able to make your management control system very, very effective, and influence of your manager, the influence of your superiors or the various functionary sets is important, so much important here. And all the things I think you may not have achieved only with your formalized control system, and you may also have informal control system with which I think we are able to get your results timely and effectively. And you may have the items like in your formal control system, like physical controls with the help of the manuals and with the help of your system and with the help of your task control. I think you are able to achieve your target results very smoothly, for which I think one need not emphasize the need of the structure of the organization. For any control mechanism, organization structure is very, very important. Organization control in the sense you must have the direction of communicating the things. You should have the clarity. There will not be any ambiguity in passing of the instructions to the operational level people, as well as you must have the culture of allowing the subordinates to give their feedback, what is going on and how you have to achieve these things. And you should also allow your subordinates to give their opinions or to give their feedback while you are carrying the various activities in the organization. That is also very, very important. As and when you have the culture to allow your subordinates to give their feedback, I think they will own the responsibility of and also feel this is our own work and this is our organization for which, and they will work day in and day out for the betterment of the organization. And you will have the organization structure like, as I have already explained, entrepreneurial type of the structure and a functional type of the organization structure. And you may have unitary type of the organization structure, and you may have the matrix type of the organization structure. Likewise, you'll have different types of the structures. It all depends on the nature of the organization and the size of the organization. You may have the different types of the structures. And which structure is suitable, it all depends upon your nature of the organization, size of the organization, and style of the management of the organization, and the area of the operation of the organization, and the experience of the people with whom you are doing the organization. And there are all the various factors which influence what type of the organization structure is suitable in your case. So having analyzed these various factors, that we have a system which helps you in order to make your organization so effective. So for which I think you need a controller who is going to control the various activities of the organization, and you must have very clarity over on the functions of the controller in your organization. And this controller may be a chief executive officer or a chief financial officer. So it all depends upon the structure of your organization. You may have a controller who is going to control the various activities of the organization. And you may also have a philosophy of what type of the control. It is a decentralized type of the management or centralized. If it is centralized, everything is going to be, I think, focused to a particular individual who is going to be a decision maker and who is going to take the decisions, having received the information from the various subordinates. And if it is a decentral type, and you will have the autonomy of giving the power to the various of the heads of the organization, I mean the subheads in the organization, with whom you are going to get the things without much delay in time. And also, I think you have taken note of the confidence of your subordinates, and to whom you have given the authority and the power to take the decisions, which will very quickly you can take the decision. And they are the people who are going to carry at the operational level, and they may be having so much of the idea and how and when and what is the thing to be done. And hence, the management, whenever you're having a decentralized, is also perform the various activities and entrust the responsibility. Not to decentralized type, you may have some pros and cons, and if it is a centralized type, again you may have the merits and the limitations. And keeping in mind the pros and cons, I think you have to make your own way of doing the things, whether it should be a centralized or a decentralized. And in every case, I think you may have the pros and cons, and it is you have to decide which is more suitable in your case. And after that, just you have to analyze this functioning of or the effectiveness of the management control system. And it is mostly in order to control effectively the various activities of your organization. It must be future oriented, and you must have the clarity in your objectives, and you should have only a minimum control loss for controlling the various activities. And here, I think, as I already explained in the earlier class, as well as now also in the beginning, you may have the formal control, wherein you have the inputs, process, and the outputs. These three things should be linked with your set objective for which you are doing your activities in the business organization. And besides this formal means you must have the inputs, control, the process and the output. And here, everything can be quantifiable. How much quantity of the material we are going to supply in order to produce your targeted production, and what is the process with which you are going to convert the inputs into output. And the output is the delivery of the amount what we are going to be expected from out of your process of making or process of manufacturing the things. So here you will have three elements. One is input zone, process zone, and output. And as and when you are going to plan your activities with how much input material is required in order to deliver so and so amount of the outcome, the output. So since these two things are quantifiable, I think in order to achieve your quantity budget of the production, and how much is the input material and how much is you are going to be delivered. So for which, what should be the process with which we are going to convert the inputs into output. So likewise, you will have a clarity as far as your elements of this process is concerned. And in this control mechanism, besides your formal, I think you may have the informal control system. That is nothing but you must have your own self-control and social controls, and you may have the cultural controls that is completely informal. Unlike the inputs, process, and output, these things are in the invisible form. These are things which are going to be control your process of making your attempt. And with this, I think we have thoroughly known what the management control system in the earlier class. Now, how do we design? So in your designing, what are the various variables should be considered, and how we are going to design? What is the structure of the organization? Accordingly, we are going to design your structure. So in the process of this making this structure, I think you will have a process of directing the information from the higher level to the lower level, and we should also allow the lower people to give their opinions to make the things so effective. You have formal and informal control mechanism. So with this, I think you can have an effective control system for your organization. After all, the basic object of this control system is in order to attain the settled things. The settled things are nothing but the planned ones. These are the planned ones based on your experience, based on your knowledge, based on the information available. You have expected how much should be produced. So that is your aim. That is your objective. In order to attain your objective, I think you have various activities to be attended. Those activities maybe, I think you can get a direction from the higher level to the lower level, or let you invite the information or the experience of the lower. That is how you may have formal and informal control mechanisms. And with this mechanism, you are able to achieve your settled things. And with that, I think we are succeeded in order to design how effectively we can design our management control system in order to achieve our settled objective. And that is how there is a lot of the importance for the framework of the system suitably according to your type of the organizational structure. And for all these things, the much more important is coordination, because we are going to achieve these things by involving different people. So as and when you have different sections or the subsections where there are different people who are working, unless you have a coordination among these different departments or the sections or subunits or among the people, it is very difficult to attain your set of goals. Hence, coordination is very, very important. How you are going to coordinate? And this coordination is by way of having an effective communication. And your communication may be a formal or informal communication also. And this communication should be always a two-way process. There should not be only unless you know how they are feeling and what is the amount of their feedback, unless you are going to allow them to speak on it. I think it is very difficult to redesign or to set your things if you are not able to achieve what all your set objects, unless you know their problems, unless you know their I mean the difficulties or the constraints. It is very difficult for us to achieve your set things. So for that, I think you need a coordinator who is going to coordinate the various departments or the subsections of the organization. So that's all about your second unit of the first block, second unit of this first block. And now we are going to move to the second unit, that is second block. In this second block, and your focus is completely on responsibility centers. Responsibility centers are the centers to whom you have assigned the work. Having assigned the work, it is one way of fixing the responsibility. Achieving of SEM is possible by assigning the works to the various individuals. This assigning of the work to the various individuals is nothing but responsibility, fixing of the responsibility. Fixing of the responsibility. As and when you fix the responsibility, and they are going to feel responsible to attain your objective. So here we are going to focus our attention on responsibility accounting. Responsibility accounting is one of the important area in this management control system. So before we are going to discuss about this responsibility accounting and responsibility accounting centers, let we have a small discussion on this. What is this responsibility? Unless you fix the responsibility, unless you entrust what is to be achieved by an individual worker, how you are going to control? In order to control the various activities of the organization, that is, through your control, we are able to achieve your targeted results. So in order to achieve your targeted results, you have to fix the responsibility. In the process of fixing responsibility, you are entrusting the job, either in the name of department or sub-department or an individual head. Let us take, for example, you have assigned the work to a worker in terms of the number of units to be produced in a day of 8 hours. Fixing the or assigning the amount of the work to the particular worker, he is responsible to produce that amount of the work by end of the day. That is how responsibility means assigning the work. Having assigned the work, your individual worker is going to be responsible to perform, to complete the assigned work. That is how we are fixing the responsibility. By fixing the responsibility, it is very easy for you to control the various activities of business. Having the work entrusted, by the end of the day, he has to produce 100 units. Producing 100 units is his job. He is responsible to produce by the end of the day that 100 units. It is very easy for you to measure, to assess, to evaluate, to count whether that particular worker by the end of the day produced 100 or not. If he produced 100, good. What is assigned? What is produced? Both are one the same, and he is performed. So the worker not to produce 100. That means Either he is competent to produce for the given work, or you may be a little overestimated the performance worker while you are assigning. You have over assigned in your next time. You have to reset design because every he is not able to produce 100 because he is assigning the next time, or you make them to produce because he is not having the, either you have to retrain him further because his skills are not able to produce the certain thing, he is incompetent, or by knowing every time he is not able to produce, that means I think you have overburdened him by way of assigning 100 instead of giving some 80 or 90, you have given extra. So that is how I think it is a process where we can make our activity more effective by measuring what is assigned and what is achieved. So this is how you are making him responsible for the work given to him. So here in the name of responsibility accounting, you are make them accountable in order to produce, in order to make their work. So this is how in a business organization, this responsibility accounting, the concept of responsibility accounting has a lot of the importance. And this is one of the area in management control system on which we have a special attention. So in the name of responsibility centers, you have to fix the centers, not the individuals. These responsibility centers are of different types. So broadly, so in the name of a simple technique, that is what is assigned, what was performed, compare that performed work with that of assigned work. That is the planning, and this is the achieved. That is the target, and this is the actual. Comparing the actual with that of the target. It is very easy for you to control whether the actual work is more than the targeted or the targeted work is more than the actual. So by comparing the actual and the targeted one is 100, the actual one is 110, or it may be 90. By comparing the 100 with 90 or 110, it is very easy for you to know what is the state of the art. Maybe it is underperformed or overperformed, or is it a positive performance or negative performance. As long as the target one is, or the planned one is less than the actual, it is positive results. He performed very well. Suppose if the actual is less than the planned, underperformed, that means he is not very active. He is not able to produce. He is not competent. So by comparing the target with the actuals, you can very easily to control the process. So for which you have to identify the different centers in your organization and make them responsible. And these centers are broadly classified them as expense centers or cost centers, revenue centers, profit centers, investment centers. And you may be knowing the prime object of any business is to earn the profit. For any commercial activity, for any commercial business, the object of the business is to earn the profit. Whatever the way you are going to explain, ultimately it is your final focus should be on profit. And while you are earning this profit, your main focus is to maximize the profit. That is your goal. How do we maximize the profit? After all, the measurement of the profit is nothing but the difference between your revenue and your expenditure. The excess of your revenue over your expenditure is profit. The excess of your revenue over your expenditure, that is profit. You should try to maximize the profit. So this maximization profit may be either to maximize your revenue, wherein you have the constant expenditure, you are able to produce more profit, or you cannot maximize the revenue or sales. There is a stagnation. In order to maximize the revenue, the only things which are in your hands is either to increase your number of goods sold, or to fix your price of the product at a maximum level. These two things are not in your hands. In order to maximize your sales, there should be a demand. You cannot eat more than twice in a day. In order to increase your sales, I think there should be some demand. And the demand may be saturated. Just like we can take only 2 times of a meal, not 3 or 4, in order to increase your sales. So there is a constraint, as well as increasing of the price, through which you can also maximize your revenue. But if you increase the price, what happened? And they may not be in a position to buy it because of the betterness of the price. Or if you increase your price, your competitors are going to crop up and they maybe take more market share by providing the goods less than the price at which you are marketing. You may have the competition. Your competitors are ready to market their products less than the price at which you are marketing. Hence, increasing the price or increasing of your sales, and both are having some saturated level, and you cannot wish to maximize these two things only with a permissible limits. Hence, the other zone is minimization of the expenditure. If you are able to minimize the expenditure also, you can enhance, you can maximize your profit. Since you are not able to maximize your revenue with increasing of the sales and with increasing of the price of the product, both are having some limitations. You can work out on the other area, that is minimization of expenditure. So this expenditure can be minimized either by purchasing the inputs most economical way, or by identifying a new suppliers who may supply at a less price rather than your existing suppliers. Or you can also identify the substitutes for this existing input materials, or by having a new method of manufacturing the things with which I think you may be having more of the economy in your process of making your goods. Likewise, I think you must try to identify the avenues with which you are able to minimize the expenditure. So this is what you are supposed to do. So for the purpose of making your attempts either to maximize the sales or to minimize the expenditure, that to identify who are the people involved in the process of making these various of the activities. So for that, let us take, for example, maximizing the sales. I mean the maximizing revenue. Who are the people involved in maximizing the revenue? Your sales department people, your marketing department people. And to entrust the job to them. This is the target revenue. This is the number of the units you have to sold. And this marketing or the sales department people are the revenue centers. Revenue centers means in order to maximize your revenue, you are identified. These are all the people who are related people, who are the concerned people to maximize revenue. Let to fix the target for them. Here there are 4 kinds of the products. The sales manager product A, sales manager product B, sales manager product C, sales manager product D, to whom you have to fix target. Those are your revenue centers. Let you entrust the responsibility. By entrusting the responsibility on them, I think you can maximize your sales. To the possible extent, centers of this sales persons, sales departments, we are going to call them as, we are going to recognize them as revenue centers. And entrusting the responsibility to these various revenue centers, I think it is very easy your job to maximize your revenue. That is how revenue centers are the centers wherein we are trying to attain or to achieve our targeted amount of the revenue in the form of sales department. That is one responsible center in order to generate more amount of the income. Likewise, you have different cost centers or expense centers through whom we are going to spend the money in a business organization, and who are the people spending more of our resources. One is your purchasing department. Purchasing department is the department which is going to arrange the various inputs in your production process. Say, for example, you are producing product A. So for production of product A, you need several of the inputs like raw materials. Engage a number of workers. We have to make use of the various of the resources, your machines, equipment, likewise, which are not free of cost. So likewise here, there are several individuals who are going to spend the money in an organization while you're making your activity. And those people to whom you are spending the money, let you recognize them as expense centers. Your purchasing manager is the expense center head. Your maintenance manager is a expense center or the cost center head. Your HR fellow, through whom you are paying the wage or the honorarium to your workers. So there are all the various expense centers. Let you fix the responsibility to these expense centers. You have to spend this much only. You have to purchase at this price only. Having thoroughly inquired in the organization, in the market, what are the various, who are the various suppliers, at what price they are supplying, and how do we make them entertained in order to supply at less by way of giving a bulk order, or you can also ask them to give the discount because of your bulk purchase or because of your timely payment of the bills. But anyway, you have to make your own game to get the things at a less cost. And whoever the people who are going to involve in this process of making these purchases or handling the workforce, and recognize them as cost centers or expense centers. అయ్యా చెప్పు కోటేశ్వరరావు. నేను మాట్లాడాలి పావుగంట తర్వాత మాట్లాడు. And this is how expense centers is another area through which you can control the various activities very smoothly. One is centers wherein you can generate more amount of income. Expense centers through which you can try to minimize the cost. If you are able to succeed in these two approaches, one is revenue generation and cost minimization, you can get more amount of the profit. This is how you can control the various activities of the business by way of, following this responsibility accounting system, one of the very important area of your management control system, one of the heart of this MCS, this responsibility accounting activity. In the name of responsibility accounting activity, we are simply recognizing the different centers as revenue centers, expense centers or cost centers, profit centers. They are all the centers are people who are related to the particular activity by by way of generating data, by way of optimizing the cost, you can have maximum the profit. So your responsibility accounting is going to be very, very useful. Your MCS more effective in business organization. And here, just I only the people who are related to market your product or to sell your product, to whom you have to recognize you are going to spend the money on behalf of the organization objectively, and how much income to be generated and how much money can be spent. They are able to produce that much of the results or not, whether they are able to achieve the things within the given cost or not, within the budget or not, or within the predetermined values or not. Very easy for you to control the various activities of the organization. And here, by way of fixing the responsibility in these areas, that is the revenue centers, cost centers, or the expense centers, and you can achieve your target result, that is your profit. So here, revenue centers, cost centers, or expense centers, or the profit centers. Those are the centers wherein there are several people who are involving. By assigning the work to them, by fixing the responsibility to them, it is very easy to achieve your targeted activity. And besides these three areas, there is another center, that is investment center. Investment center people are the people who are going to identify when should we expand our business. Have we opened one more branch, or have we opened one more the product, introduce one more product, and have we arranged additional equipment or the machinery for which we have to arrange the investment. So for identifying the potentiality of your activities, potential of your business, potential of your marketing activity, you have to arrange the additional facilities in the name of additional machinery, additional equipment, and expansion of your business activities, for which you have to arrange the investment. So here is also, from time to time, every year, you have to make your plans for the extension of the business, or for expansion of the business, for encroachment of your area of the operations. So for which you need the investment. So by way of identifying the various avenues wherein we can improve our business, so for which, how do we arrange this investment? How we should raise the capital for expansion of our business activities. So for that also, I think you have to recognize some of your executives who are concerned in this finance department as the investment centers. So here, in the name of responsibility accounting, revenue centers, cost centers, expense centers, profit centers, and investment centers. And recognizing these people as the centers, they are able to achieve the things within the given assignment or not. And if they are able to achieve it, okay. If they are not able to achieve it, then you have to diagnose the causes why they fail to achieve those things. So having diagnosed, having analyzed the situation, and it is very easy for us to control the various activities of the business. So with this block 2, that is these 3 units are also over. By next session, I think tomorrow, before we go to the next topic, so let's have at least at a glance study of 3 minutes, so that I think we can move to the next talk, which is very easy for you to understand what is the next thing for your discussion. I hope you have understood on the focus is having explained very deeply with a lot of the meaningful